Today, quarterfinal number 1, it should be no different. Welcome back, everybody. Sean Farnham, Jonathan Coachman, and our entire crew settled in. It's going to be a tremendous day. Xavier and Dayton. Let's look at the head coach from Dayton in his 5th season. A tremendous young coach, Brian Gregory, has brought the Flyers a long way in the starting lineup. For Dayton, Brian Roberts averaging over 19 points a game. Sandoval, Johnson, Benny, and Kurt Heelsman will have to have a big game inside. For Xavier, their starting lineup is tremendous. Drew Lavender, a great point guard. Stanley Burrell, a 4-year starter. C.J. Anderson, Jason Love, and Derek Brown. And probably not the surprise job, but really Sean Miller has done a great job at the helm of Xavier, really putting his personality on their program.
Well, I think the one thing that really stands out for me about Coach Miller is so much of college basketball, and talking with so many great coaches around the country, it's all about relationships. And that ability to communicate your message to your team and your team to understand exactly what you want them to do. And the unselfishness that we've seen this year from the Musketeers has been impressive.
Let's go ahead and take a look at your keys to the game.
Well, when you take a look at the keys to the game, Dayton needs bench production. In fact, in the games where the bench has outscored their opponent, they're 15-2 this year, and they need to have a defensive intensity. They cannot have any breakdowns on that end of the floor. For Xavier, they need to get off to a quick start. Dayton's already got a game under the belt. They know the arena. They know the atmosphere. Xavier's got to come out and do the same thing. And then, more than anything else, they just have to do what they do, Coach. And it's very simple when you state it like that. But this is a team that's had so much success this year and has ran through the Atlantic 10 Conference that they have the opportunity to take home this conference crown and help their seeding. And you take a look at the last couple of meetings here between these two teams. Both of them go the way of Xavier, and certainly that's what Xavier wants today. But Dayton's trying to break the streak. I mean, Dayton's 0-2 in the Atlantic 10 tournament all time versus Xavier. They'd like to change that and make it 1-2 versus Xavier.
Here we go. Dayton is the lower seed. They will wear their away red. Xavier in their home white. And Dayton gets the tip. And here we go. Xavier starting man-to-man. Marcus Johnson is hammered right out of the gate. 8 seconds in, he will shoot 2.
Well, I tell you what, Marcus Johnson has been one of those guys that has really elevated his game over the last couple. In fact, he's averaging 14 points per game here in March. And remember when we did the Open, we were talking about the fact that they figured out that the aggressiveness was a key for them in the overtime period. And I like the aggressiveness that we saw right there out of the Flyers, going right to the rim on the opening possession.
Marcus Johnson yesterday against St. Louis led the team in scoring with 16. That first personal on Xavier was on Jason Love. But really, fouls should not be an issue for Xavier. We talked about it off the top. They are very, very deep.
Well, they're a disciplined team, and they can take a couple of fouls early in the contest because of the depth that they have, Coach. And that's one of the keys to success for Xavier all season long. And that's why they're a scary team for anybody in the NCAA tournament, because on any given night, it could be one of those 6 guys that steps up and has a huge game.
Xavier has been a perennial top 15 team this entire year. Regular season Atlantic 10 champions and the top seed here in this Atlantic 10 tournament. Good hustle by Marcus Johnson. Tipped out. He will remain with Xavier. 16 on the shot clock.
A good job, though, by Xavier on this opening possession. Getting touches for everybody out on the rhythm, getting them into a flow early in this contest is important.
I think people are really going to be impressed. If you haven't seen Xavier play this year, Drew Lavender, transfer from Oklahoma, a tremendous point guard that can also score.
Well, he's coming off an ankle injury. Remember, he sat out the final game of the regular season.
Shot clock at 2-1. C.J. Anderson off the board and just beat the shot clock. And Xavier, quick 2-1 lead. But it looks like early on here that Dayton wants to push the issue.
Well, I think it's push it, see if you have any opportunities to get some easy buckets. If not, you got to try to take control of the ball and not turn it over like that.
Look at the quick hands of Drew Lavender. Burrell goes in and is fouled and will shoot 2. Today's officials, Gene Steratore and Ken Clark and Ron Taberski, will have the unenviable task of keeping up with these two teams. And a lot of people are talking about Dayton as a bubble team. Early on, they started out 14-1 and struggled down the stretch, but they do have 21 wins. If they win here today, not only would it be a big win over Xavier, but it would give them 22 wins.
Well, Coach Gregory, after yesterday's contest, said, look, I'm not into the numbers. All I know is this. We've got to win basketball games right now. And they control their own destiny. If they knock off Xavier, they win in the semifinals, they win the whole thing, you get the automatic bid. It's as simple as that, and I think that's the focus right now for the Flyers.
The winner of this game will meet tomorrow night in the semifinals. The winner of our second game later this afternoon, St. Joe's and the number 4 seed Richmond Spiders. Hillsman inside, can't get his shot off, out to Johnson. Brian Roberts, a floater, and gets it to go. Now, Brian Roberts is the guy who's going to have a big day. Only 5 points yesterday against St. Louis. Yeah, and we saw one of the strengths of his offensive attack right there, being able to put the ball down on the floor and hit that floating jumper. It's off balance, but he seems to hit it more often than not. Dayton also starting off in a man-to-man. It's a conservative man-to-man, though. They really don't like to lunge and reach and get themselves out of position. No-look pass tipped away. Here comes Brian Roberts, working one-on-one against Stanley Burrell, works around him and lays it up and in. And Brian Roberts, the leading scorer for Dayton, has an early 4. You take golden opportunities. Yesterday, they were very opportunistic in their half-court set. As I said, they don't like to necessarily lunge and reach and play that passing lane, but they do get some steals. They had 8 yesterday against St. Louis, especially most of those coming in the first half. That opened up easy opportunities for them to score. Love stripped by Jimmy Benny. Took a little bit too much time, got too deep, and Dayton on the fly with a 1-point lead. Well, you got to have an awareness of where the help is coming from defensively. If you're the offensive player, you can't put the ball down on the floor, expect that no one's going to be there. Benny misses the runner, and Brown comes away with the rebound. Drew Lavender pulls up from the free throw line. That one is too long. But inside, Brown misses the easy one. And here comes Brian Roberts, physical early. Settle things down right now if you're the Flyers. You don't have a numbers opportunity. Wait for everybody else to get back up the floor for you. You can already kind of feel, even though it's a noon start here on the East Coast, you can already feel the excitement. Because I think these fans really know what's on the line here this afternoon in Game 1. Well, and the intensity of both coaches, both of them up off the bench. Coach Gregory pacing back and forth, and Coach Miller shouting out instructions from the sideline. I mean, this is a big-time atmosphere for these teams. They understand the importance of it. Benny from 3. That one a little bit long. Hustle for the rebound, and Benny comes away with it. Dayton will have another opportunity. Sandoval for 3. That one is long. Anderson, he may have walked, but they're going to call a foul on Benny before the travel. And that's one of those fouls you wish you didn't have. And the reason why is because you're 84 feet away from the hoop right there at the free throw line. You got to have an awareness. Hey, you like the battle, you like the aggressiveness, but sometimes you just got to back off. A couple of substitutions come in for Xavier. And it'll be very difficult to keep on track. London Warren is one for Dayton. The pick and the finish with the left hand. What a tremendous finish by London Warren off the bench. And that was a created opportunity right there with his defense going against Stanley Burrell, one of the finest defensive guards in all the country. He's the A-10 Defensive Player of the Year. But really, when you look at Warren, he came up with 2 huge stops in that game, late in the game yesterday against St. Louis to preserve this victory. And a nice opportunity right there to get the theft in the easy bucket. Whistle and an offensive foul on Xavier as Dayton is currently on a 6-0 run, and they lead 7-4. That foul on Brown, that's his first, team's second. And Dayton, we talked about it before we came on the air. We knew they'd have to come out and weather the Xavier storm, and I think they've done exactly that. Well, and one of the keys to my game, again, was for Xavier to get off to a fast start. They needed to kind of set the tone early in this contest. They have yet to be able to do that, and the Flyers are taking advantage of it. Well, Benny hits the 3, and Jimmy Benny comes out very aggressive here early on, and now a 9-0 run, and it's 10-4 Flyers. Xavier has 4 turnovers in their last 5 possessions. They have to value the ball a lot better than they have in the early going here. B.J. Raymond, number 11, he is a sharp shooter. Look for him. Josh Duncan working inside, a little one-handed floater, can't get it to go, and a strong rebound, a bad outlet, but London Warren comes away with it, and the Flyers looking to continue this run. Jimmy Benny inside, a little bit hard off the rim, Xavier rebound. And Stanley Burrell. Sloppy with the ball right there, Coach. You can't be that sloppy. Wow, Marcus Johnson, and I think maybe the adrenaline is getting a little bit too much right now, and a timeout on the floor is exactly what both teams need. Folks, I told you it's going to be fun. I told you it's going to be good. First time out. Lead. The the Boardwalk Hall, a very fast start here in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Quarterfinal number 1, Dayton on top 10-4. And when you look at their season breakdown, we talked about it. What a tremendous start. Middle of the season, not so good, but now they're on a current 4-game winning streak, which includes the win over St. Louis yesterday. Well,
I think one of the things you have to kind of put in perspective is injuries have really hurt the Flyers throughout the course of the year. None bigger than, of course, their standout freshman, Chris Wright. They were expecting an awful lot out of him. He still got all A-10 rookie team, even though he missed the majority of the A-10 season due to injury.
And they were hoping to have him back for this tournament, but the ankle just has not responded, and putting him out there certainly would be a mistake. B.J. Raymond took the hit, still got it to go, 10-6.
I like the idea of coming out of the timeout again. I'm always for being aggressive and trying to be the aggressive, because a lot of times that helps you get calls from the officials as well, Coach. And certainly coming out of the break, the Musketeers able to get into the paint and find an easy bucket.
Whistle and a foul on Xavier.
I think a lot of the execution that you see, and this is one of the reasons why, again, Sean Miller has done such an excellent job with Xavier, is that when you come out of timeout situations, can your team execute exactly what you want them to do? And Xavier does that more often than not, and that's why they've had so much success this year. Those are little things, Coach, that help you win games. Out of bounds underneath, coming out of the timeout, coming out of the break at halftime, making the adjustments, and then responding.
Dayton with possession. London Warren, Brian Roberts holds for 3, a little bit long, and that's normally a shot that he's going to hit if he's that wide open. Here comes Drew Lavender. He's only taken 1 shot thus far. One of the better scoring point guards that you're going to find around the country. Duncan inside. Whistle and a foul. And Duncan will go to the free throw line. And Duncan's normally a guy, we feature him off the top, that shoots beyond the arc. And here early on, because of the size advantage, they've put him inside.
Well, I love the size of Josh Duncan. I like the availability to bring him off the bench. And he's so versatile, whether you have him with his back to the basket down low, if it's a mismatch situation, or can he stretch the defense. Earlier this year, Coach, he hit 16 consecutive shots over a 3-game stretch. That ended, of course, on February 21st. But during that stretch, the 16 made buckets, 8 of them were 3. So it wasn't like he was getting a bunch of gimmies underneath the hoop. He's that consistent of a shooter. And I think that's what got him 6th man of the year, obviously, in the A-10.
Well, he's an 85% shooter, misses the second. C.J. Anderson comes away with the rebound, and Xavier will have another opportunity, trailing 10-7. Stanley Burrell inside, can't get it to go, and a strong rebound. And every rebound this afternoon, you can already tell, is going to have to be secured in a major way.
Well, the key to any defensive possession, you can play great on-ball defense. You can pressure all over the floor, but if you don't secure the defensive glass, it's all for naught, because more often you're going to give a second opportunity to another team. You're going to find them having the ability to score buckets, and you don't want to give teams easy looks on offensive putbacks.
Not a good look by Little, who is not a jump shooter by any stretch of the imagination. He's just a really good athlete. Duncan inside on Hillsman. And a nice finish. It's now 10-9. Xavier on a 5-0 run of their own.
Hillsman is not as athletic as Duncan, so Duncan can exploit that when he catches the ball on the perimeter. And because he's such a good three-point shooter, you got to close out immediately.
Brian Roberts, what a floater. And you can almost feel that Brian Gregory pulled Roberts aside and said, son, today we're going to need you. More than 5.
Well, he saved up all his points from yesterday, and then bring them into today's game. He's due to have a 25-point game performance or more.
Well, if he's going to hit his average for the 2 days, he's going to need 33. So,
well, they might need that today for Dayton to win this contest, even though they've got themselves a 3-point lead right now.
Roberts with 6, and it's a 12-9 lead. Anderson. And the scrum, whistle, and a jump ball, and possession arrow will stay with Xavier, as there are 4 Dayton Flyers set to check in and 2 Xavier Musketeers. Both coaches realize how much they're going to need their bench here today.
Well, and that's why bench scoring is going to be even more key for the Flyers than it is for Xavier, because you kind of understand Xavier's going to bring guys off the bench and they're going to put points on the board. But for Dayton, where are they going to find those points, and how key will that be? And, Coach, right off the top, I mentioned that Dayton doesn't usually get a bunch of steals. They have 4 average per game. They have 5 already today.
Shot clock at 5. Drew Lavender, I don't think he realizes it. He does now. He pulls from deep. You bet. And we're all tied up at
12. He hit that one from Caesar's Palace.
And Johnson showing his athletic ability. Whistle. He was going up, and he will shoot 2. And I told you there was going to be some intensity. Let's take one more look at that three.
As we watch this, look how far he is, folks. That's beyond NBA three right there when you draw that line.
That is Sean Farnham range.
No.
Right there.
No, not even close. That's like Reggie Miller range. That's not Sean Farnham range. Sean Farnham's range was about 3 feet away from the bucket, Coach. Come on.
Yeah, but not all of us got to play at Pauley Pavilion. So.
Well, you know what Drew Lavender does so well? It's when he hits his buckets. It's not just that he hits buckets. It's the time in which he hits it. And, you know, this game was starting to kind of get the momentum going for Dayton early in the contest. A three like that just deflates you as a defensive team.
Dayton now with a 2-point lead, 14-12 as we approach the 12-minute mark. Another whistle and a foul on Dayton before the shot. Foul on Jimmy Binney, his second. And so Little will come back in. Binney will be forced to go to the bench. Jimmy Binney, normally not a guy that comes out really aggressive on offense, but he did here this afternoon, hitting a big three and taking 3 early shots. Wide open, Burrell from the corner, can't hit the three. Rebound, tracked down by Brian Roberts.
And that was a blown coverage underneath. A lucky exchange there for the Flyers.
And Johnson hits a three. So coming off a 16-point performance yesterday, Marcus Johnson has started this one red hot, and Dayton back up by 5.
Well, and you see the differences of the two teams right now. The Musketeers have a golden opportunity. Burrell wide open in the corner all by himself. He misses the three. Then the opposite end. Johnson wide open, able to knock it down.
Johnson and Roberts each with 6. A long three, no good. Love with the rebound. And a strong move inside, and a whistle and a foul. And when we come back, we will shoot free throws. Folks, today is not for the meek of heart. But if you got range, you might be able to stick around.
Xavier trailing by 5 with 11:29 left to go here in the contest. And, Coach, one of the ways that Xavier can get back in this game is by being aggressive on the offensive glass. As the shot goes up, and we pause it here for you, fellas, check out the box out. That has got to be a clean box out. You've got your body on him, but, oh, you let him slip right by you. And Mr. Love, Jason Love, able to get to the offensive glass and draw the foul. And those are the little things, Coach, when you're trailing. Your offense is kind of a little stale right now early in this contest. You can get it fresh again by getting to the offensive glass.
Sean Farnham, I am Jonathan Coachman, and our entire crew. What a start we've had to day number 2, quarterfinal number 1. Immediately following us, about 30 minutes after this one wraps up, St. Joe's will take on Richmond, and then everybody clears out. And then we come back tonight for the night session. So Love at the free throw line to shoot the first of 2. You know, Xavier's a very good free throw shooting team, shooting 75% on the year.
They lead the Atlantic 10 in that category, and you know, when you go the opportunity, you have opportunities to get easy ones at the foul line. You need to be able to knock it down. Now, Jason Love, not one of those guys that shoots a real high percentage, about 65% on the year. So the fact that he goes 50%, you might take that right now. But there's been some other guys that have stepped up there that have missed.
Josh Duncan and Jason Love goes to the bench. It's just a merry-go-round of substitutions for both teams. Brian Roberts doubled along the sideline, gets it to Little. Inside, using that athletic ability, Hillsman with the rebound. And they're going to say he traveled before he got it out to Perry. Now, that's one of those instances, I know what you're going to say, take it right back up, take your chances.
Well, for sure. When you get the ball that deep underneath the hoop, I mean, this is a gimme. All right, off the offensive rebound there, he gets away with the push, go right back up. Instead, he puts the ball down on the floor and put himself underneath the basket.
Xavier has done a good job in the last 4 minutes of hanging on to the ball after 5 turnovers in the first 5 minutes. In the last 4, they have not had one. Whistle and a foul inside on Dayton. Sandoval with the personal. That's going to be the 17th foul, so Xavier will shoot 1 and 1. And this is awful early for a team to be in the bonus. So if Xavier can convert at the free throw line, certainly this will be to their advantage.
Well, and you look at the numbers, Coach, and we mentioned it just a moment ago, they're the best free throw shooting team in the conference. You do not want to send them to the line for 11 minutes left to go here in the half, and 3 more fouls, they'll get 2 every single opportunity. So right now, if you're Xavier, you want to continue to get something going towards the hoop. You do not want to just settle for your outside shot, even though they're very good at that as well.
Anderson hits the first. And hits the second. Now a 2-point game. Xavier 6 for 8 from the free throw line here early on. 17-15. Dayton, the number 8 seed, on top of the top seed Xavier by 2. Brian Roberts, little, great athlete.
I love the way that Josh Duncan showed on that screen, though, and didn't allow Roberts to get open.
Turnover by Sandoval, and here comes Drew Lavender, who's back into the game. Little stop and go. Duncan's a great three-point shooter. Bang! And Xavier has retaken the lead. And a timeout called by Brian Gregory. You just cannot leave Josh Duncan alone. Duncan now has 6.
How fast do things change in a game when you have a guy like Josh Duncan that can stretch the defense at his size? And then you see him first on the defensive end of the floor. Anchoring the defense right here, fellas. That's what you got to watch. All right, as the drive comes through, he shields off his man, sheds off his man, able to get the block, then saves the ball and gets it to his teammate. That's the first thing that you get done. Now you go to the offensive end, you got to reward the big fella. Able to step out, knock down the three-point shot. Certainly, he can stretch you 40, 50% in conference play. Dangerous threat out there on the floor.
Sean, this game already early on has been a game of runs. And Xavier on a current 6-0 run of their own. Dayton had a 9-0 run. Xavier went on a 5-0 run, back to a 7-0 run. I mean, it's going to be all about survival of the fittest going down the stretch and who can have the most stretches.
Well, and who can execute better out of timeout situations. We've already seen Xavier come out of a timeout early in this contest and get some points. How will Dayton respond on this possession? It's a big one for him early in this contest.
Brian Roberts with the ball. Dayton with possession. He has 6 early. London Warren really not a threat to shoot from the outside. Heelsman inside. Blocked by Josh Duncan.
And Coach Gregory wanted the foul call down low for Heelsman, but did not get it. He's working the officials right now.
Oh, how quick is Lavender? Are you kidding me? But couldn't get the spinner to go after getting in between 3 different flyers.
He's fun to watch, I tell you, even with a sprained ankle, battling through the pain. He is a lot of fun to watch.
Roberts from deep, in and out. And Roberts has the same type of range that Drew Lavender does. If they're within 4 or 5 feet of that three-point line, they're going to make it. Inside, good block by Heelsman, scramble underneath. And I believe they're going to call a foul on Heelsman for a push underneath, and so Xavier will shoot free throws.
Interesting that would be the one that gets called, because I thought there was a foul right there, grabbing of the arm. Warren was down there, and then Heelsman puts his hand in the back. I mean, it's a good call, no question about it, but I would have thought the first one would have got called. It would have sent him to the free throw line for 2. Instead, now he's got to earn them the hard way, going for 1-on-1.
Heelsman sits down and will get a blow. Duncan will be at the free throw line to shoot a 1-on-1. That's the ninth team foul on the Dayton Flyers. So from this point going forward, they will shoot 2. But this one is a 1-on-1, and that is good. Duncan, an 85% shooter.
Coach, 2 fouls in the last minute of play for Dayton. Remember, it was just 7 fouls with 10:29 left to go on the clock. Now at 9:38, they've already got picked up 2 more fouls. They've got to be concerned right now about how many guys are going to be in foul trouble when they get to the break, and will they have enough to finish this game off in the second half.
Now an 8-0 run by the Musketeers, and they lead by 3, 20-17, as we are past the halfway point of this first half. Brian Roberts to London Warren. Little floater in the lane, too hard. Little tries to tip it, no good. And a strong rebound.
And Little should have just grabbed that one with 2 hands, brought it down, reestablished the offense. You had a fresh shot clock.
Lavender from deep. That is pure again. And now the run is up to 11-0, 23-17. And this one is starting to get the feel. And a steal by Derek Brown. And a huge finish. And Brian Gregory called another timeout. A 13-0 run by the Musketeers, starting to show why they're the #1 seed.
And let me just tell you a little story about Derek Brown. He likes to dunk the basketball, Coach. 57 dunks this year. All right, almost 50% of his career-made shots at Xavier have been off of dunks. First, we show you, though, Drew Lavender able to stretch the defense, shooting better than 40% from behind the arc on the season. He gets it done. And the highlight reel for the A-10, Derek Brown up in the rim, able to throw it down, and just takes the life right out of the Dayton Flyers. Look at him. And you know what? On a scale of 1 to 10 for Derek Brown, that's probably a 6. He didn't have it off the backboard to himself. You know, he didn't take it to the legs or anything like that. The Blue Man likes it.
The Blue Man is always here. You know it's a big game if the Blue Man is in the house. This 13-0 run that Xavier is currently on has happened only in the last 3 minutes. So right now they are scoring in bunches. And Dayton and this man with the ball right here, Brian Roberts, needs to respond right now.
They need to stop the bleeding, Coach, because this thing could get blown way out of proportion here before we get to the break. And the Dayton Flyers could find themselves looking at a 15-point lead for Xavier if they don't stop it.
Johnson inside. We'll see if they give it to him. They do. Count it, and the foul.
Now, credit Coach Gregory for working the officials on that last time out. He's been complaining that when his guys have been driving to the hoop, they've been getting bumped down low, and the fouls haven't come their way. That time, Johnson able to get it done, just like he did on the opening possession, being aggressive, ripping it through, going right to the hoop, drawing the foul, soft touch off the glass, and that's exactly what the Flyers needed right there.
Fouls on B.J. Raymond. Johnson now has 8 here in the first half. Very, very aggressive. Yesterday had 16. And he is the 2 to the 1-2 punch of Brian Roberts. Can't finish the three-point play. It's now 25-19 with 8.5 minutes to go before halftime.
Xavier will pull it out and make sure everybody gets a touch on this possession.
Anderson working hard inside. Jimmy Benny, good hands. Ball goes out of bounds. Will stay with Xavier. You know, Stanley Burrell's first couple of years was the leading scorer for the Xavier team, and as his career has gone along, his role has really changed quite a bit.
Well, it's changed into that more defensive mindset, Coach. And as I said earlier on, I think he's one of the finest defensive players in the entire country, not only at the guard position, but anywhere on the floor. His ability to shut down some of the bigger name players they faced over the course of the season has been very impressive.
Shot clock at 10. Duncan for 3. That one no good. Good box out by Brian Roberts. Here comes number 2 to number 32. London Warren. It's amazing because teams just play off of him because London Warren is absolutely not a threat to shoot from beyond the free throw line. Say that twice.
No question about it, Coach. But the one thing that impressed me on that possession, the defensive transition for Xavier has been very strong. They're not allowing easy runouts and looks, even when you think Dayton might have numbers.
That one way off. Burrell with the rebound. Good defensive stand that time by Xavier. That pass by Duncan. Lavender was going one way. The pass went the other. And it's time for a timeout on the floor. Xavier behind some good outside shooting. A 6-point lead. 7.5 to go. Welcome back to Boardwalk Hall. The top seed Xavier Musketeers here in quarterfinal number 1 on top of Dayton, 25-19. And this has really been a season to remember for the Musketeers.
Well, they already set the regular season mark for most wins in the regular season. If they win the A-10 tournament, they'll break the school's all-time record for most wins in a single season. They've done it at home. They've done it on the road. They've done it everywhere. They've got signature wins against teams like Indiana. They beat Kansas State. Of course, they hung in there well against Tennessee as well. Arizona State was another one of those tough losses for Xavier in the non-conference schedule. But certainly, this is a team whose resume looks extremely good for the NCAA tournament, especially if they were able to add an A-10 conference championship tournament.
Marcus Johnson again gets the bump. This time does not get it to go. But we'll go to the free throw line and shoot a couple. And Marcus Johnson, you know, I've done several Dayton games this year, and this is as aggressive as I've seen him in any of those.
Well, he's a very athletic player, and we've seen that. But more impressively for me is the fact that he's being the aggressor. And so many of the Flyers right now are being passive. They're staying on the outside. They're not being aggressive attacking the rim like Johnson has. And because he's been the aggressor, he's getting the foul calls. He's getting to the free throw line. He's getting some made buckets. And right now, really, he's the guy keeping this team in the game.
B.J. Raymond, his 3rd foul, so he will go to the bench. But Xavier, very, very deep, so it's not a huge issue. Johnson hits the first. and hits the second. So now Dayton responds to Xavier's run, and they have scored the last 4. It's now 25-21.
And Coach Gregory's yelling from the sideline, one stop, one stop. He wants his team to pick up the intensity at the defensive end. That's where it lacked. In the beginning of this game, they came out on fire.
Lavender, again, his third 3 of the game. And just like that, the lead back up to 7. Lavender 3 for 3 from beyond the arc.
And speaking about being on fire, Drew Lavender has been on fire in the first half of this one. And again, it's the time in which he hits the shot. They're the backbreaker shots, Coach. He just doesn't hit normal buckets. He hits those backbreakers that just deflate you as a team.
Vinny inside to Hillsman, working on Love. Roberts, yep, he traveled. I don't know who works harder, Xavier on defense or Sean Miller on the sidelines. I mean, it's amazing to watch this guy coach. After every timeout, he's taking a towel to his face, washing himself down. You got to love playing for a coach like that who was such a gritty player as well.
Well, I think when you look at him, he brings that player's mentality to the bench. And he understands he wants to be out there probably with the guys. And he sees things on the floor that they don't see when they're out there. I think that's why he's so aggressive in the style. And I think that's why Xavier's responded so well. These kids definitely respond to him on a consistent basis. The third consecutive 20-win season underneath Coach Miller. That's impressive.
The shot clock down to 8. Drew Lavender can't leave him open. From the side, and Stanley Burrell says, thank you very much, Drew Lavender, for the assist. And now the biggest lead of the afternoon, it's 10. And the Xavier faithful that have made their way to Atlantic City are on their feet.
Well, what hurts you in that possession is you play defense so well for a majority of the shot clock, and then you end up giving up a 3. Now 5 of 8 for the last 3 pointers for Xavier on the day.
And conversely, Dayton can't hit a 3 of their own, and a hard foul by London Warren. But Love will go to the free throw line and look to extend this lead, and right now Xavier is hitting on all cylinders.
Well, I told you, the thing you have to be concerned about for Dayton right now is this lead extending out to about 15 at the break, because then you're going to have to play exceptional basketball in the second half. And when you shoot the ball as well as Xavier does from the outside, I think that's one of the deadliest weapons in all of college basketball, and how fast the game can change with a 3-point bucket. Twice this year, Xavier made 16 3-pointers in a single game. Those early in the season against Virginia and Auburn. But they can definitely get it going from the outside. 5 already today.
Xavier on a current 19-4 run. And showing why from the inside, from the outside, why they are the top team. And in all likelihood will be a team to be reckoned with in the NCAA tournament as probably a 3 or a 4 seed.
Yeah, and I think that's probably about right, Coach. And if you go ahead and you take away that St. Joe's loss, and let's be honest, at that night, and closing out that building, what it meant for that university, having all the former coaches, all the former players there, it was really the cards were stacked against Xavier that night. And St. Joe's also happens to be one of those teams that does match up pretty well with Xavier because of their depth and their height inside. They can do a lot of things to make you kind of get out of your rhythm and out of your flow.
Yeah, Brian Roberts misses the floater, so right now at Dayton, a lot of empty trips, and they cannot afford too many more. Like you said, it could become a 15 travel on Xavier, a 15, 17-point lead at the half.
Well, look at Coach Miller. And Coach, you brought it up, his intensity. This is him at the defensive end of the floor while his team is out there. Look at the way he's like, his body language, foul, finish the ball. He wants everything. And I think that's the one thing you have to love. And a great job by our guys out in the truck to get us that shot of Coach Miller. And he's one of the funner coaches to watch it all in college.
Oh, I just love watching him coach and love watching his teams play. So Dayton now looking to respond. Sandoval inside the scoop. And before that, an offensive foul on Andres Sandoval, his second personal. And right now, Xavier doing everything right on defense and everything right on offense.
Well, and that's why you get a team that's ranked in the top 15 in college basketball. That's why you get a team that's going to advance out of the first round, probably out of the first weekend, depending upon, obviously, the matchups that potentially could be out there. And I think for Xavier, their biggest threat right now is themselves. They've just got to continue to buy into each other, believe in each other, because they have all the pieces necessary to make a good run in the NCAA tournament, Coach.
So now Flyers trail by 11, under 5 to play here before halftime. Josh Duncan working on Charles Little. Lavender has already hit 3. threes here in the first half. And a turnover by Anderson.
He knows how quiet Brian Roberts has been after getting off to a hot start. They've really done a nice job clamping down on him defensively. You see they show every time there's a ball screen for Roberts to try to spring him. They show on it, force him away from the bucket. Excellent job defensively in the first half by Xavier.
Little. Johnson. Good defense by the Musketeers. Shot clock at 10. Roberts working one-on-one, and he pulls from way deep, and that one is short. And probably could have taken another couple of dribbles and still got that same shot. But a timeout on the floor. Dayton has turned ice cold, and Xavier has been red hot. An 11-point lead here late in the first half. We're back in Atlantic City. It's an 11-point game. Xavier on top of Dayton, 32-21 with 3:57 to go before halftime. And speaking of the half, coming up at halftime, we'll take a look at the Atlantic 10 All-Conference team. Gary Forbes, Player of the Year, and of course, first half stats and highlights.
Well, Forbes has been outstanding all season long for UMass, but talking with Travis Ford, you get an opportunity, folks, if you stick around and watch the A-10 tournament all day long, you don't need to leave your couch. But I tell you what, the one thing that impressed Travis Ford, as well as myself, has been Chris Lowe. I mean, he has been outstanding. You're not going to see his name here. These are all the first-team guys, but Chris Lowe has been the key cog to UMass's success, and they're another one of those teams right now that feels as if they're in the NCAA tournament, feels as if they've done enough. But with everything that's going around the country, the Sun Belt Conference now maybe getting 2 teams in, the WCC maybe getting 3 teams in, you don't necessarily know what's going on in the minds of those that are locked in the hotel room right now, that are taking names and put them on the board and taking them off the board and put them back on the board. So for UMass, you need to get some wins here in the A-10 tournament to make sure, and just make yourself a little bit more comfortable heading into Selection Sunday.
This year, maybe more so than any year I can remember, you don't want to be a bubble boy.
Oh.
You don't want to be one of those teams that says, you know what, I hope that San Diego doesn't beat Gonzaga. I hope that, that nobody beats Xavier. You don't want to be a bubble team this year because there's been so many upsets in conference tournaments already.
And I think Syracuse bursted their bubble yesterday with that loss to Villanova.
Drew Lavender from the top of the key. That's a bad miss. Marcus Johnson with the rebound. And Dayton has missed 8 of their last 9 shots, and their star, Brian Roberts, first team All-Atlantic 10, has missed 4 of his last 5. So right now, Xavier's done an excellent job of keeping both the team and Roberts in check.
Well, look at where Roberts is at when he has the ball. He's not even close to being in the operational area, and I think that's a key.
What a great give back. And Brown did not like the foul, and they're going to keep him in check. He will go to the free throw line and shoot 2.
And Stanley Burrell goes ahead and gets Brown by both ears and saying, hey, look, we need you. We can't afford to have you get something here. But this was a hard foul. And the problem with the foul was that Little brought both hands down, brought it around the head, the neck, the shoulder area. And as a player, you don't want to see that at all. You just don't want to see that. And that's why you usually get the snap of the head and the walk right back to where the foul came from, Coach. You know how it is.
I remember when you got fouled a couple of times back in your playing days. You let people know.
How about when you fouled me last night? I was walking through the lobby and you gave me a bump.
You always got to be looking sideways, my friend.
Yeah. I didn't know you were wearing the Terry Tate jersey from back in the days of the old Reebok commercials.
3:06 remaining. Xavier up by 12. Misses the second. And Dayton has been stuck on 21 for several minutes.
It's okay if you're at the tables here in Atlantic City. Not so good if you're playing against Xavier.
And Brian Roberts wanted a push in the back. Still got it to go. He now has 8, and it's a 10-point game.
Well, nice job. Again, you haven't seen too much of that. Easy opportunity, pushing the ball off the floor. Xavier was a little slow in their defensive transition that time.
Drew Lavender's so quick with the basketball. Stop and go. Xavier running that motion offense. Shot clock at 10. Stanley Burrell. Inside, nice pass. They're going to say it went off at Dayton with 5 on the shot clock.
And look at Coach Miller. You know what? They've got themselves a 10-point lead with 2:25 left to go. out of bounds underneath with 5 seconds to go on the shot clock. He wants to make sure his guys come on over and get the exact play. And this is how much he values each and every possession. And I think that's one of the keys to any success in any program, whether it's at UCLA with Ben Howland and what he's been able to do in that program, back-to-back Final Fours. Well, of course, with Sean Miller, and you look at Sean Miller, and one of the most impressive things about him is not just the numbers, and you see all the numbers there, but folks, he's one of 10 coaches in the country right now that's a United States Basketball Writers Association finalist for National Coach of the Year. And when you look at the names that are on that list, you understand why Sean Miller's one of the brightest coaches in all, brightest young coaches in all of college basketball. And of course, most recently named the Atlantic 10 Coach of the Year.
So after the timeout and Sean Farnham's dissertation, we are back to action with 5 left on the shot clock.
I'll be here all weekend.
And Xavier with possession. Oh, great pass inside. And Brown with the finish. Oh, my goodness. It took him almost the entire 5 seconds to collect himself, but when he did, it was worth it. On the other end, Mickey Perry draws the foul.
Okay.
And, folks, Sean Farnham just about threw me onto the court after that finish.
Oh, you execute out of a timeout. Look at the way that Brown is able to create the space. A little bit of a shove, but gets away with it. And then once he finally gathers it, the explosiveness right up to the rim. See, I think that one was better than the one that he had in the open court situation, Coach, because the explosiveness, the power in which Derek Brown got to the rim.
Perry misses the first of 2. So we're gonna keep track of the dunks throughout the afternoon.
That's 2 dunks so far.
2 dunks and rate them as well.
I gave him a 6 on the first one. I'll give him a 7.5 on the second.
You got it. Okay, we've got that in check. Make sure the boys in the truck know where we're going. 6 and a 7.5, and right now it's an 11-point lead as we hit the 2-minute mark. A long 3 from the corner, no good, and Johnson rises up and grabs the rebound.
That was a great rebound, and they need to do a lot more of that, having a collective awareness on the glass for the Dayton Flyers. Make sure they get there with a purpose. You want to fight against your own teammates to be able to get the boards right now against Xavier.
Johnson wide open, top of the key, uses his quickness, gets inside, bucket, and the foul.
How many times have we seen him do that thus far in the contest? He's gone right a couple of times, and now he brings it back to the left, but finishes with the right. A nice job by Marcus Johnson on that possession. As you see him, he's gone right almost every time, so when he rips it through and goes the opposite way, he's able to get past the defender and finish at the rim. And an excellent job not only drawing the foul, but also completing it and having an opportunity for a 3-point play.
Johnson has been fantastic. Johnson now has 13 first-half points, and he has single-handedly kept Dayton in this ball game. It's now an 8-point game with 1:40 and counting. Lavender, he hit the, you know, it's funny. Roberts took his eyes off for him for a second, got lucky he didn't hit that bucket. Here comes Brian Roberts on the other end. Puts on the brakes, Jimmy Binney inside. And they're going to wave off the bucket and call the charge.
And that would have been huge had that one gone the opposite direction, and if they would have called that a block. And that's a momentum breaker right there, another opportunity for a 3-point play, but instead he goes the opposite direction as Xavier walks down the court.
Yeah, that's Jimmy Binney's 3rd personal foul. Will go to the bench, and Brian Gregory is letting him have it. Fundamentals, jump stop.
Well, you got to have an awareness when you have 2 fouls. You got to jump stop and go straight up and down. You can't drift on it, Coach, and I think that's what Binney did on that last possession.
Duncan, Heelsman, trying to guard him. Shot clock at 15. We are under a minute to play. C.J. Anderson up top from Brown again. Anderson working on Sandoval. Lavender, shot clock at 3. At 2, Stanley Burrell. Foot was on the line. Short. Almost got the roll. Brian Roberts comes away with it. And there's about a 9-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. London Warren gets inside. Too hard. Tip. Got it to go. So now Dayton cuts the lead to 6. 35-29, and Dayton on an 8-0 run of their own. Shot clock is off. tremendously fun first half physical between both these two teams, these two rivals. Lavender working up top, game top under 5. 2, Burrell, step back, can't get it to go. Good defense by the Dayton Flyers. So Dayton ends the half on an 8-0 run to cut the lead to 6, 35-29. Standing by right now with the coach of Xavier is Sean Farnham. Sean.
Coach, the way things started, you turned the ball over on your first couple of possessions, but then you really gained your composure at the offensive end of the floor, found some really good looks in the first half. Talk about how pleased you were offensively with getting everybody involved.
Well, we played in peaks and valleys in the first half. I thought, our effort level in the last 4 minutes really at both ends wasn't very good. We started the game off with too many turnovers. We didn't play very well. We really did.
Defensively, it seemed like you did an excellent job, though, forcing Brian Roberts away from the hoop, showing on the screens. How important is it to keep him out of this offense? And obviously, you got to try to do something to keep Marcus Johnson away from the rim.
We've done a good job, as a team on Brian Roberts, but, they have more players than Brian Roberts, and some of our guys defensively are just getting murdered.
Keys in the second half for you. What adjustments are you looking to make, Coach?
You got to be more of a consistent team. We can't play for 4 minutes really well, and then 4 minutes where we don't play well. We're playing against a good team, and every possession counts.
Coach, best of luck in the second half. Coach Miller, obviously excited about where they're at right now, but disappointed with maybe how things ended in the first half for him, Coach.
All right, Sean, thank you very much. Certainly it ended on an 8-0 run by the Dayton Flyers. We got 20 more to play right now. We all need a break. It's halftime. Xavier on top by 6. Halftime festivities after this. Who knew that Sean Farnham's iPod would be piped in at halftime here at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City? We are just about set for the start of the second half. It's a 6-point game. Xavier on top of Dayton. What do the Flyers need to do one more time?
Well, what the Flyers need to do is be very aggressive in their offense and their defensive end floor. It's a very simple approach. Xavier took the punch to them after starting off extremely slow. The Flyers can pick up their intensity, but they have to do so, Coach, without fouling. They've got guys in foul trouble coming at the break. They fouled 12 personal fouls in the first half for the Flyers. They got to cut that number in half, but still pick up their level of intensity. And you're asking a lot when you're taking on a team as talented and as deep as Xavier.
And because of that, foul trouble for Dayton. Little will start for Jimmy Benny, who has 3 fouls, will begin on the bench. Other than that, same starting lineups for both teams. Dayton will begin the second half with the basketball. Johnson hits a 3 to begin the second half. And for a player who scored the most points of any half in the entire season, Marcus Johnson comes out, hits a 3 to start the second half.
That was a big start for the second half right there, executing out of the break. And nobody even closed out on Johnson. They allowed him to just line up the shot, tee it up, and make sure he knocked it down. And that's a big start for Dayton. They needed that.
Yes,
big way.
Yesterday was a season high of 16 against St. Louis. Johnson just matched that, and we're just starting the second half.
There's a good chance he's going to break that, Coach. I'm going out on a limb. I realize that.
Intuitive. Shot clock down to 2, down to 1. Good defense by Little, and a shot clock violation. And the Flyers hit a 3 and then have a great defensive stand.
You know what I love about that defensive stand is everybody had awareness of where the ball was. Everybody clogged up the paint. They didn't allow a gap or a hole to sneak on through and get an easy finish at the rim.
So Dayton now on an 11-0 run. They trailed at one point 35-21. Little inside using that athletic ability, but a bad shot doesn't even catch rim.
You got to get a better look than that.
Burrell.
Because see what that does, Coach, is when you have that bad of a miss, it allows Xavier to run back out the other end.
And Johnson on the other end draws the foul, and he's done that maybe 3 or 4 times here this afternoon. Gets the bump, and and then shoots it, and either he's going to make a three-point play or he's going to go to the free throw line for 2.
Well, the thing that impressed me right there, leadership ability coming from Xavier. Stanley Burrell immediately grabbed his teammates and said, guys, look, we have got to get back in defensive transition. And was even demonstrating how you got to slide on over to cut off that angle, because obviously Marcus Johnson, as I mentioned with Coach Miller in the first half, at the end of the first half, he's had a great deal of success getting to the rim.
Johnson now 6 for 9 from the free throw line. C.J. Anderson, that was his second personal foul. And a minute 18 into the second half, Sean Miller is already making substitutions. Johnson hits 1 for 2, now has a new season high of 17, and Dayton trails by 4.
I told you he was going to break that mark.
I tell you what, you're on top of your game today. Drew Lavender hit 3 threes in the first half. Josh Duncan, a little step back, short. Sandoval with the rebound.
I like the idea of turning face, though, against Hillsman, because the athleticism of Duncan is so much better than Hillsman. You turn a face, you can either hit that shot, or if he comes up on you, you drive right by him.
Little inside, and when you give him the avenue, he's such a great leaper. Finishes, and Dayton is as close as they've been in a very long time.
Well, he is one of those guys in Little that's tough. He's athletic. He's got some good size, and without Wright, he's the one guy that down low in the paint can make his presence felt.
And Little got a piece of that Duncan shot, and the ball comes out to B.J. Raymond, a new shot clock.
Good job defensively by the Flyers. Now they got to do it again.
And again, Little showing that athleticism. Turnover by the Musketeers. Here comes Marcus Johnson. Dayton a chance to tie or take the lead.
And Roberts hesitated. He had an inch, and usually when you give him an inch, he's going to take that shot.
And Raymond just picked up his 4th foul as Brian Roberts drove to the hoop. And the last time Dayton led, it was 17-15. So it's been a long time. But I've been very impressed, Sean, with how Dayton has responded when they trailed by as many as 13 in the first half. You thought they might go, run away and hide and say, you know what, we've had a nice season, but that's not what's happened.
No, they have come out and they're showing the fight and grit that you'd expect out of Coach Gregory's team. And this is one of the things, and you mentioned it off the top, Coach. These two teams, they're so close. They don't necessarily get along with each other. So they're going to bring a different fight. This is a rivalry game. And just like you saw Duke, North Carolina last weekend, Georgetown, Louisville. For these two teams, this is their rivalry matchup.
Whistle and a foul as Duncan and Hillsman were battling for position underneath. This time is going to be called on Josh Duncan. And, these players, I was talking to, a couple of Dayton people before the game. They play in summer leagues together. Everybody always says Cincinnati and Xavier has a big rivalry, but as you see the series history, they've met 147 times. And these are two teams that know each other as well as anyone, and they see each other all year round.
Well, I think that you see the last 5 meetings all going the way of Xavier. And Dayton would really like to see that one win against Xavier come in this conference tournament. I think it's more important to them right now to try to hang on to any life they have on the bubble.
Roberts and Burrell, one-on-one, top of the key. Hillsman now working on Duncan, using his size. Can't get it to go. C.J. Anderson with the rebound. Here comes Drew Lavender. Drew pulls from top of the key. No good. Rebound Duncan. Duncan back out to Burrell and Xavier. Duncan, no whistle. A lot of reach, but no foul call. Oh, good pass inside, and a whistle and a foul call underneath.
And Coach Miller really working the official on the far sideline right now, because there's a lot of scratching and a lot of clawing going on. You see Duncan drive towards the hoop. He gets hacked on his arm. That ball squirts back out. And that's what Coach Miller saying, hey, that wasn't a foul?
That was the 3rd foul on Andre Sandoval.
They eventually got the foul call.
Well, I think by the time this game is over, both coaches certainly will have earned their money, because they are working as hard as you can on the sidelines trying to get their team to call. Anderson inside, gets it to go. Xavier, before that shot, was 1 for 5 from the field to start the second half. The lead now back up to 4. And a steal. Wait a second. I don't know.
I give it a 5.
Okay, there's
I give it a 5. It didn't have the flair there.
Well, I was waiting. I didn't want to make the call. Derek Brown, his third dunk of the game.
That was the weakest out of all three. Admit it.
I do admit it. It was the weakest. Brian Roberts trying to respond. Lead at 6. Roberts top of the key. Can't leave him open.
Big time shot right there, because coming off the dunk, that's where momentum starts to go back the other way. Roberts stops it immediately, says, you know what, we're going to fight this entire second half, and good grit coming out of Brian Roberts there.
41-38, Anderson whistle and a foul call on the floor on Marcus Johnson. But give credit to Dayton and Brian Roberts for keeping this thing close. It's a 3-point game, 15:33 left. Arlington athlete spotlight, and she's a junior lacrosse player from Duquesne, Kathleen McNish, her hometown Caldwell, New Jersey. 3.5 GPA and Atlantic 10 first team all-conference in 2007. Led the Atlantic 10 with 74 points and 43 assists in 07, and Atlantic 10 academic all-conference. So congratulations, Kathleen McNish, today's student athlete spotlight from Duquesne. Well, 15:33 remaining here in the second half. 41-38, Xavier on top. Brian Roberts right before the break hitting a huge three. He's now in double figures with 11. So I'm just having a gut feeling, Sean Barnes, that this one's going to go down to the wire.
Well, and I think the way that the Flyers have responded, now remember though, this is often similar to what they did in the first half. They got out to a good start early in the first half, then Xavier took over. So now out of the first timeout here, the first media timeout, we get to see how Xavier's going to respond.
Anderson inside, using his size. Brown over the top, and he's going to be fouled from behind by Mickey Perry. And Brown using those long arms, that long wingspan to grab the rebound, and will shoot two.
Not only that, though, you get the second chance opportunity for Xavier, and that's the one thing, again, you want to avoid if you're Dayton, is because they're so athletic, because Brown can play around the rim and Duncan can work down there, they don't have good favorable matchups out there for the Flyers right now. You have opportunities to get offensive rebounds, so that's why team-wise, you need to have a collective awareness. That's it, 5 guys to defensive glass. Hey, we'll get our run-outs when we can, but we need to shore up the possession.
Brown, 7 points, 5 rebounds. There you see a shot at the very intense Sean Miller. And Brown misses both free throws. Xavier now 10 for 16 from the charity stripe, so an empty trip for them. And Dayton now another opportunity to tie this thing up with a 3. London Warren, Mickey Perry, working inside. Benny, top of the key for 3. You bet.
Well, Coach, you called it. You said they get tied up with a 3, and they diagrammed up a play. Obviously, it was designed to get a perimeter shot. A lot of dribble penetration, a little dribble lead.
Oh, and a traveling call, an unforced turnover out top by Dante Jackson. And right now, Dayton has come all the way back to tie it at 41 with 14:37 to go in the second half.
And Xavier's really just got calmed down here a little bit. They've got to get back to what they do best, and that's understanding each other, the strengths and weaknesses of one another, and not getting rattled by the fact that the Flyers have come out here and put some pressure on them. This is where good teams respond, and if Xavier's going to advance in the NCAA tournament, they have to respond.
This is only the second tie of this entire game. Perry to Benny. Continuing to work that lead. Roberts being locked up by Stanley Burrell. Shot clock has stopped. The clock has stopped. And now it has started running again, but for about 15-20 seconds there, the clock didn't run.
Well, that worked out in the benefit of the Flyers on that possession.
Dayton now leads by 2, 43-41. And they're going to have to get this thing sorted out, I think, here before we get back to action. Foul on Brian Roberts.
So everything's working accordingly. The officials are going to be
Well, I think they're going to
put their headset on and probably readjust the clock here a little bit.
Yeah. They're going to review the count, and then now we are back, and it's going to be 13:50 to go here in the second half. Dayton, nearly a steal.
Oh, physical play. Wow. Look at the physical play. A lot of contact on there.
Brown steps around, nearly gets a three to go, and Mickey Perry comes flying in for the rebound.
A great rebound that time for the Flyers.
Hillsman is wide open. A whistle and a foul. We'll see if they give it the goaltend. The intensity in this ball game has just been turned up a couple of notches.
Now you see the dump down low and the pin on the backboard. And the foul called. Hillsman did an excellent job posting up in transition. And that's exactly what you want the big fella. Run straight to the block, and if you get there before everybody else, we're going to get you the rock.
Very, very close to a goaltend. They say no. Hillsman will shoot two. Hits the first. It's amazing that Hillsman, that's just his first point of the game. Misses the second. Dayton now with a three-point lead, 44-41.
And I think we're just getting warmed up as far as how intense this is going to be. A 9-0 run right now for the Flyers, Coach.
Xavier, the number one seed. Whistle and another foul on Marcus Johnson. That'll be his third. But he needs to watch it. He is the leading scorer for Dayton here this afternoon. Can't let his emotions get the best of him. Here comes Sandoval, and Johnson will get a quick blow.
Well, a good job. Nice substitution that time by the Flyers. You want to make sure you talk to him and get him settled down and realize, okay, look, you're our best offensive weapon here today. We're not going to allow you to foul out of this game. So just calm down for a second. Do what you have to do. Make a couple adjustments defensively as far as moving his feet.
That was the 15th foul on Dayton. Xavier has 4. Drew Lavender back in the game. Duncan pulls for 3 and hits.
And Hillsman's got to get out there. You gotta get a hand in the face. You can't allow Duncan to just spot up from behind the arc.
What a shot by Andre Sandoval. The reverse right-handed layup, and Dayton back up by 2. Whistle, a foul on London Warren. For Sandoval, that was his first points of the game, and what a way to get them.
Well, it came at a key time, too, obviously. Game tied up. Duncan hits the 3, and that's I think the most impressive thing for me in Dayton here in the second half, though, is that every time that Xavier has made a little bit of a run, or it appears as if they're going to regain momentum of this game, Dayton always responds, whether it's a big rebound, a drive to the hoop, an N1 situation. Brian Roberts hitting some shots. They've done it all here in the second half, and they scratched their way back from what was a 10-point deficit in the latter stages of the first half to have a 2-point lead here with under 15 minutes left to go.
Yeah, Dayton has been on fire here in the second half, shooting 75% from the field. Still, C.J. Anderson, no whistle, no call, and finally there's a foul called, and they're letting these guys play, no doubt about it.
Well, and I love the rotations coming over from the help side position. It looked like it was going to be an easy bucket. And here comes Mr. Little to swat it off the backboard. And then he got another one there, but he got a little bit of arm.
I don't know what is in those legs that Little has, and good block.
That was a clean block, a beautiful block right there by Charles Little.
Sean Miller wanted a goaltend before this foul, but Anderson hits the first of 2. These two teams, they know each other very well. Xavier won both meetings earlier this year between these two teams. The latest just a few weeks ago in Dayton, winning by 6. Anderson looking for the tie and gets it. So now we're all tied up at 46, 12-15 and counting here at quarterfinal number 1, Xavier and Dayton.
And the Xavier fan section, their support up on their feet, trying to will them to get back up with some of their defensive intensity that's been lacking here.
Oh, what a crossover, and they're going to call a charge, and London Warren is hurt.
Well, he landed right on his tailbone. And that's one of those things as a player, a bruised tailbone will get you. And you hate to see that because it was a pretty move to the hoop. the foul goes the opposite direction, and you get injured.
And the defender was right under the basket, so normally you'll see that called a block because you got to give the player a chance to come down. Watch it here.
Warren drives to the hoop, and you see a nice job actually by Duncan, just on the outside, and he was able to set his feet. And the official right there on it makes the call, but Warren landed right on his tailbone, and I'm telling you, that is one of the more painful injuries, and it's one of those ones you're on the floor and you're like, I really don't want to be down here with a bruised tailbone.
Well, good news is London Warren gets back to his feet and is helped to the bench. And he's in a lot of pain.
The Jacksonville Jet, as the radio crew from Dayton has nicknamed him over his time while his time at Dayton. He doesn't look like he's ready for takeoff anytime soon.
Well, back to action now with 12 minutes exactly to play. We're all tied up at 46. And this one continues to be as physical as you're ever going to see a basketball game. Working the two-man game. Josh Duncan on Little. The little runner in the lane is good. And Duncan now has 13, and Xavier with a 2-point lead.
Yeah, we mentioned Duncan right off the top, his versatility. We've seen a 3-point game, and now we see his back to the basket. Nice soft touch floating across the middle of the key. Nice move.
Marcus Johnson back into the game. Came in from London Warren. Sandoval takes the bump underneath. No call. Rebound by Xavier. Lavender wide open. Decides not to take it. Gives it up to Burrell. That was a good idea because Burrell hits it. And now Xavier up by 5.
Well, that's the unselfishness that we've come to expect out of the Musketeers all season long. Is you have a great look. Lavender's wide open at the 3-point line. He stops, surveys the situation, says, you know what? My man Burrell's wide open. I'm going to give him the ball and give him the opportunity to score.
Timeout for Dayton. Xavier on a 7-0 run, and we will take a timeout with them. This one has gotten physical. 10:54 left in Atlantic City. Quarterfinal number one. Xavier by 5. We're back. It's been a second half of runs.
No question about defensively. Originally, the Flyers come out. They kind of set the tempo. And Marcus Johnson dials it up from the outside. And then it's Benny from the outside. And sharp shooting here in the second half from pretty much everyone on the floor, including Brian Robertson. They definitely needed him to get going. But look at the unselfishness by Xavier. Stanley Burrell from the outside, knocking down the 3 and giving now a 5-point lead to Xavier here with 10:54 left to go, Coach.
Well, and Xavier will be shooting the 1-and-1 from this point forward. As you see, 18 fouls on Dayton, only 4 thus far on Xavier in the second half. It's been very, very physical. London Warren on the bench may or may not come back. We're getting word that the pain is subsiding quite a bit. Brian Roberts from the corner for 3. And flying in Marcus Johnson, but the rebound comes off to Drew Lavender. And a bad pass. Here comes Roberts pushing the issue, and a bad pass to Charles Little. So back-to-back turnovers, and Xavier will have possession. And there is another timeout on the floor. It's a 5-point game as we approach halfway point of this quarterfinal number 1. Boardwalk Hall, a 5-point lead for the Xavier Musketeers. 10:33 remaining here in the second half. And throughout the game, Derek Brown has had 3 different dunks that my partner Sean Farman has rated.
All right, so here was the first one. It's about a 6. I thought he could have added a little bit more flair to it. Didn't necessarily excite me. This one did, though. The power goes straight up. The vertical game right there. I like that one a lot. And then watch this one from the opposite end. Now, see, this one a 5. That's the sauce. Come on.
We placed the camera on the backboard. We knew he was going to get it. We knew he was going to finish, and then he disappointed.
Oh, that one's got to, he's got to at least cock it back and break it through. Open floor. I've come to expect more out of him.
Good job in the truck, gentlemen. All right, 5-point lead. Back to action. Duncan for 3. Hits it. Coming out of the timeout, and that was a dagger. Now an 8-point lead. And like you mentioned a moment ago, eerily similar to what happened in the first half.
Well, that and the fact that you know that Xavier's a good team. There's no question. No one's going to debate that in college basketball this year, and good teams respond. And the punch came their way. Now they were seeing the response from them.
Mickey Perry with the lay-in. Xavier now 54-48. That stops a 10-0 run by the Musketeers.
And this is usually where Drew Lavender steps up and hits one of those shots as well.
And C.J. Anderson just too big, too strong for Brian Roberts.
And a nice job backing him down, using the strength and size. And that's the one thing I think Xavier's impressed me with a lot today, is the ability to find the mismatch. If they have a mismatch at the coach, they get it done right away.
So now the Musketeers up by 8, 9:20 to go in the second half. Heelsman, one-on-one with Duncan. Can't get it to go off the back iron. And Brown just rips it away. And Ryan Gregory on the sideline can't believe that there was no call.
Well, I like the aggressor's going to get the call, and Brown was the one that had his hands on the ball first, so that's why there was no call right there.
Anderson inside, Brown rips it away. Brown inside. And they're going to call the foul, I believe, on Sandoval. Or Little, rather. And Brown will go to the free throw line. That's Little's fourth.
And now we're starting to see some of those fouls in the first half, adding with the 9 fouls we already have here in the second half against Dayton. And we got guys in foul trouble, and this is going to be a concern for Coach Gregory down the stretch of this one.
Brown has been less than stellar from the free throw line. It was 1 for 4 before that. Now Xavier a chance to push the lead back up to 10.
Brown has 3 made field goals today, all of which we showed you in that package, all of them coming at the rims.
You know, we bring you all the angles.
Oh.
Come on, that's what we do.
It makes it easy for us, Coach. So we have a good crew like we got here at the 8-10 tournament.
All right, 58-48. Can Dayton respond? Brian Roberts has been very silent in the past few minutes. Stanley Burrell locking him down. Roberts now just cannot get away from Stanley Burrell.
Well, that's why he's such a great on-ball defender.
Johnson, they called on Brown, and Brown thought he had a clean pick. But Johnson, and now kind of a mock cheer from this Dayton crowd.
Well, there were 3 fouls called against Xavier in the first minute of the second half. Now they have 5 with 8:27 left to go. And again, Johnson initiating the contact, able to get that foul called by the officiating crew.
Johnson has been very, very good here this afternoon. And yesterday, without him, they probably would not have advanced past St. Louis. Johnson hits the first.
Substitution.
He leads the team in total rebounds on the year. So Johnson's not only a guy that can get it done in the point column, but he also can get it done by getting offensive rebound. But how about this? In 13 of the last 20 games, he scored double figures heading into this one. So you can go ahead and make that 14 on the last 21.
Yeah, he's now 9 of 12 from the free throw line with 19 points to lead Dayton. Xavier by 8. Anderson, whistle, and a charging call on C.J. Anderson as Marcus Johnson stepped in. That'll be 3 on Anderson.
Is there anything Marcus Johnson hasn't done today to try to help out the Dayton Flyers? Getting charges, offensive rebounds, hitting perimeter jump shots, driving to the hoop, drawing fouls, getting to the free throw line.
If he could grab me a hot dog right now, that'd be preferable. I'm starving.
I'll get you one in 8 minutes and 5 seconds.
Roberts coming around a double screen. Burrell right in his hip pocket. Whistle, and a call on Anderson. And with that whistle, we will go to the break. Xavier, when they have needed them, have hit the threes this afternoon. Those threes have helped them to a current 8-point lead. An 8-point lead for Xavier. 7:57 remaining here in the second half. A very spirited contest, as you would imagine, between these two rivals.
Fans enjoying the popcorn, enjoying the game. You know, T.O. always says, hey, pack your popcorn, it's going to be a show. And this has been a show so far.
Well, I'm not really sure what that is.
Yeah.
Or who that is.
At least he adjusted it.
Well, it'll be a one-on-one as Marcus Johnson was fouled right before.
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
Now that's natural.
That's natural?
Look at this, guys. Look at that. What is that? What is that?
Johnson, important free throws, hits the front end of a 1-and-1.
It looks like he had a hard night in Atlantic City last night, Coach.
That was good.
It looks like he's had a hard night in a lot of places. They're saying in the truck that looked like me 12 years ago.
Oh, I was going to go more with a longer-haired version of Napoleon Dynamite.
Johnson now has 21, and the lead is 6 for the Xavier Musketeers.
He just got out his cell phone. He's calling everybody going, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm on television right now.
Yeah, Mom and Dad are going, we know.
And Dad's sitting there saying, hey, son, get it cut.
Good defense for Dayton underneath, and we'll stay with the Musketeers, excuse me. Look, he did. Hey, ask your parents what they're saying that's right now. That's tremendous. That is tremendous.
You never know what you're going to see here at the A-10 tourney.
They're saying he's a teacher. Why is he not? Oh, it's his teacher. Lavender for 3 from the corner. That one is long. And amidst the stand-up, there is a very good basketball game going on here this afternoon.
You find us at the Chuckle Hut a little bit later on.
58-52. Dayton on a 4-0 run of their own to cut the lead to 6. Jimmy Binney. Mickey Perry, shot clock at 10. Robert.
Close to being an illegal screen right there on Hillsman.
Shot clock at 3, 2, 1. Benny just throws it up and nearly got it to go. Hillsman with the rebound and will go to the free throw line. What a huge break for the Dayton Flyers. Benny nearly hit the desperation 3. Then Hillsman is there for the rebound.
You throw up some prayer from the outside. It doesn't get answered. But you got someone down underneath, and Hillsman able to clean it on up. And look, he has struggled today offensively, Coach. He has not done a very good job finishing around the hoop, but that was a big offensive rebound right now. Now he just needs to set up, be a little patient here, and knock down one of these free throws. You can't miss both of them and have an empty possession because every possession for the last 6:51 is going to matter in the way this game has played out. You don't want to allow Xavier to make that great run like they did in the middle portion of the first half and then try to whittle it down at the end.
London Warren is back in the game after the injury to his back. Anderson now back in with 4 fouls, and Hillsman misses both free throws.
And you cannot do that, Coach. That's one of the things you're going to look at the end of the game and the free throw line. It'll kill you. It'll kill you, especially when you're taking on a team like Xavier.
Well, you wonder, London Warren now working underneath Anderson and a fat pass. Overshot everybody onto the Xavier bench. And we'll see what kind of condition London Warren is in, because he's going to be asked to guard either Stanley Burrell or Drew Lavender after landing on that spine.
And you mentioned it, not noted for his offensive abilities, but definitely noted for his defensive abilities, and that's where you got to be a little bit concerned if you're a fan of the Flyers.
Hillsman inside, and he walked. Yep. He can't believe it, but he did.
Well, he just shuffled his feet a little bit down low, Coach, and when you catch the ball, you jump in the air to catch the pass, you meet the ball, he did everything right that way, and then he jumped again. You can't do that. That's a travel, and a good job by the officiating crew being right on top of that.
So now Drew Lavender working one-on-one with London Warren as we approach the 6-minute mark. Again, C.J. Anderson, good pass, Derek Brown, cutting to the lane, and the bucket. London Warren, bad pass. And it fell right on the shoulder of Brown. And hopefully, yep, he pops right back up.
All right, and we take a look on this last play. Watch when the ball is entered through the post, where Brown is out on the floor. Let's freeze it right here, guys. Here's Brown right here. No awareness by the defensive players. Everybody's watching the ball. He sneaks in right behind, able to get to the rim, and makes it easy on him. A nice job that time, having an awareness, not only by Brown, but by Anderson on the opposite block to deliver that pass.
So Brown will go to the bench, make sure his shoulder is okay. B.J. Raymond back in the game with 4 fouls. Jimmy Benny at the free throw line to shoot a 1-and-1. Benny hits the first.
Plenty of time here for the Flyers, Coach, and it starts though at the defensive end. The adjustments they made coming out of the break, the intensity picked up at that in the fourth. This is the portion of time that you start to get concerned on whether or not that intensity can be maintained for the entire half, or is there going to be a dip? Remember, they played an overtime game yesterday against St. Louis. This is where you got to gut check yourself a little bit.
1 for 2 from the free throw line. A 7-point lead for Xavier with the basketball. Lavender working on Roberts. Burrell. To C.J. Anderson, using his athletic ability, and gets it to go. Right now, they're having a hard time staying with Lavender and Burrell on their penetration.
Well, Anderson did a nice job double pump faking and protecting and shielding the ball with his body, able to finish that one down low.
Anderson has 12. The Musketeers by 9 as we approach, and a whistle and a foul on Burrell. He can't believe it, but Roberts will go to the free throw line and shoot 2, as now both teams are in the double bonus.
We're talking about Brian Roberts and his life recently, finally an opportunity for him to get to the free throw line. How about this one, right? He became a father last week. His girlfriend gave birth to their daughter, Alana. He slept in the hospital, flew and met the team in St. Bonaventure, and then dropped 24 on him. One of the assistant coaches stayed behind and made the trip with him. But after sleeping in the hospital, I've done that. I've got 2 kids, so I know what it's like to sleep in a hospital. I can't even do a broadcast after that, let alone go out on the floor and drop 24. But certainly, you talk about the resiliency of this young man and the talent of this young man. Not a lot of college recruiters were thrilled with him because of his slight stature at 6'2", 175, but he has had such an excellent career at Dayton, and one of those guys that we'll remember for a long, long time up there in Ohio.
But he is an 80% plus free throw shooter, misses both free throws from the line. An empty set for them. Lavender for 3, no good. Rebound Marcus Johnson. And Dayton now, they've got to score some points as we are under the 5-minute mark. Benny from the corner, wide open for 3. No good. The hustle for the rebound off of Dayton, and will go to Xavier.
Well, you got to knock down those opportunities. Roberts comes off the screen. Benny does a nice job popping into the corner. Wide open from the perimeter. Unable to dial it in. And Benny's played extremely well. And Benny right now, by the way, has been hiding the fact that his knee has been bleeding for about the last 3 minutes worth of playing time. He's been wiping it with his shorts every opportunity that he has. Hopefully now that he goes to the bench, they'll try to get that worked on.
Lavender.
That's a kick.
Kick by Hillsman. And I think you're seeing some of these jump shots and the free throws. You talked about the fatigue that might set in after the long game yesterday. I don't know the last time Brian Roberts missed 2 free throws in a row.
Not when you're an 87% free throw shooter, Coach. And I think that's one of the things in this contest that at the end of the night, they're going to be walking away with going, did we miss opportunities? And Dayton right now has had some opportunities to make this one a lot tighter than it is right now at a 9-point lead for Xavier. And they just let it slip away from them a little bit.
Yeah, Hillsman missed 2 free throws. Then Brian Roberts missed 2 free throws. And you can't do that when you're trailing by 9 with 4:33 to go in the second half.
Well, look, you might be able to get away with that against St. Louis, and that's not disrespectful to St. Louis. It's been a difficult year for them as far as putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. So you might be able to get away with it from them, but not a team like Xavier. Xavier is too talented, too deep. They get guys in foul trouble, and Coach Miller doesn't even hesitate. Go right to the bench. Doesn't even matter, because the next guy that's coming in is ready to go. And as we look at the tournament history for the Dayton Flyers, their NCAA tournament record 13-15. They won Final Four appearance back in 1967. They took on the UCLA Bruins. Their last appearance, of course, was in 2004.
Of course you would know that.
Well, that was Lou Alcindor's team back there in 1967. And all our well wishes, by the way, to Coach John Wooden, who's just been released from the hospital, is now at a rehab center. He's been dealing with a broken collarbone. His wrist's been banged up, but Coach Wooden is legendary for all of college basketball. And speaking which, let's look at Xavier's tournament history. 18 tournament appearances. They've now gone to 3 consecutive NCAA tournament appearances, considering the fact that I'm already got them in the lock into this year's NCAA tournament. So back-to-back tournament appearances as of right now. They'll make it 3 on Sunday.
All right, back to action now, and Xavier with possession, leading by 9, 4.5 to go. Shot clock at 15. Xavier content to run the shot clock all the way down. Brown back into the game. Burrell. Duncan for beyond the arc. No good. C.J. Anderson, the only one left standing, and it's fouled and will go to the free throw line.
There's a song called When the Bodies Hit the Floor. It used to be a promo for something. I don't necessarily remember, but certainly that was one where 3 guys hit the deck hard in this contest and underneath the hoop. And Anderson's the only guy who's like, you know what? I'm still standing up. I'm still okay. I'm going to get this offensive rebound, trying to make something out of it.
Anderson has had a solid afternoon, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, 12 points. Has really done the dirty work inside. A lot of the offense has started on interior passes to him, and then...
Well, Coach Miller, when you were talking about C.J. Anderson, said he's a very physical player. He knows how to draw fouls. We just saw both of that right there. But that physical presence, you know, even when you're not 6'8", you can still have your presence felt at the college basketball level. When you're tough and when you're willing to scrap down low, and C.J. Anderson has been able to do that, and after hit the free throw, he gets to take a break.
Dante Jackson will come in, a 10-point lead now, 63-53, with 4 minutes to go in this one. Quarterfinal number 1 from Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. Brian Roberts double teams Benny. Little gets blocked by Love. Plenty of time on the shot clock. But they cannot use this much time each time down, trailing by 10. Little to Roberts, shot clock under 10. Pulls for 3, way off. And a whistle and an over-the-back call on London Warren. And when we come back, Xavier will shoot free throws. Well, we are right on the beach in Atlantic City. Looks like Xavier, they pull this one out. Them are inside Boardwalk Hall. First game of 4 here in Atlantic City. Xavier on top by 10, 3:32 to go. Sean Farnham. Jonathan Coachman with you here, and London Warren just fouled out right before the break. And Jackson will go to the free throw line. London plays very, very hard. Fouls out with 4 points here this afternoon. It's good to see that he's okay after landing on his tailbone. And Jackson misses the front end of 2.
Jackson, a heck of an athlete coming out of high school. He actually won the Division II state 110-meter hurdles for Ohio in 2007 and 2006. And oh, by the way, he also ranks as the 11th all-time leading scorer in the high school ranks for the state of Ohio. Pretty solid. I mean, that's similar to your resume coming out of high school.
Way too much running on his resume for me. Johnson, Little working the 2-man game. Johnson high up, can't get it to go. And a good tip in by Little. And it's now a 9-point game, 64-55, and Dayton will extend their defense.
I like the idea here to extend their defense. They just got to be careful they don't give up easy at the opposite end on the defensive end of the floor. Once you pressure, it's usually good because it adds to the intensity in the half-court set, but you don't want to foul, you don't want to lunge and reach. And what a great job by Coach Miller settling down his team, setting up a play with 10 seconds left to go here on the shot clock.
Shot clock down to 8. Lavender thought about it. Burrell, shot clock at 5. Puts his shoulders down, steps back, Love inside, and finishes.
And that's where that long wingspan of 7'6" comes into play for big Jason Love.
And Brian Gregory certainly frustrated because he thought it was a shot clock violation. They reset the shot clock and Love put it back in. So now with 2:31 remaining, Xavier up by 11. And it's been a very frustrating afternoon at times for the Dayton Flyers.
All right, so you be the judge yourself. Does it hit the rim? Yes.
I believe it did, yeah.
It barely nicked the rim, but Love was there, and Johnny on the spot at the right time. And pretty darn good on the offensive glass. 7 in the Atlantic 10 on the offensive glass. And The lead is now 12 on the rebounding charts for Xavier, but you definitely see the ball in the rotation change a little bit when it hit the rim, and I think that's always a good indication for all the officials.
Well, I think you're starting to see now Dayton getting a little bit fatigued, and then that is, to me, the great thing about these tournaments is can you overcome the internal fatigue when you have to play, if you're lucky, 3-4 days in a row.
Well, and that's going to be the storyline coming up in the next one as well. When you got St. Joe's taking on Richmond. Richmond had the day off. St. Joe's had to play yesterday against Fordham. Now they cruised to an easy victory in that contest, and their starters got a great deal of rest, but they still lost some minutes yesterday.
Little, and they're going to call the foul on Love as Little went straight up into him, so Little will shoot 2 with 2:23 remaining in the ballgame.
And Little's one of those guys last year was very, very productive. And this year it's dropped a little bit, but averaging 10 or about 11 points and 5 rebounds per contest in Atlantic 10 competition over the course of his career. So he's usually a guy that starts to thrive in conference play. Necessarily hasn't done it here today. Only 4 points for him on the day.
Well, Sean, if Dayton does go on to lose this game, and it appears as they probably will, they can look at their free throw shooting. Right now, 14 for 25. They're shooting under 60% and only 8 for 16 in the second half.
Well, and that's why when they went through that stretch and you saw Brian Roberts miss both, you know something's amiss.
And they're going to say it's off of Drew Lavender, turnover, and Dayton will get the basketball, trailing by 10, and no time went off the clock.
And Lavender walked right up to Raymond and said, hey, you know, don't worry about it. It's okay. And you just got to make a little bit of a crisper pass. Now, those are the little things right now that allow Dayton to have some life. If they're able to hit a three-pointer on this possession, Coach, it really changes the whole demeanor of this game.
Well, I would love to see a little more urgency on Dayton's part. Roberts, he has had Stanley Burrell literally tattooed to him the entire game. Johnson pulls up from 17. No good. Benny with the rebound. Lavender comes underneath with the steal.
Well, you mentioned Burrell and his defense. That doesn't surprise me at all. Of course, he held Eric Gordon to just 4 of 12 shooting from the field. Gordon did end up with 20 points in that game, but he also held Chris Lofty of Tennessee to 3 of 12 from the field and just 7 points. He is a great on-ball defender, and he has really, truly made a niche for himself for Xavier this year and a main cog for their success.
Lavender and Duncan working a 2-man game. Shot clock at 5. Duncan on Little. Brings it down. No whistle. And a shot clock violation. And I think Xavier would be more than happy to hold on to the ball for 35 seconds and take that. They're leading by 10, and Dayton's not fouled.
Well, and I think that's kind of a little bit surprising to me. But then you look at how well Xavier shoots free throws. So maybe you're better left right now to try to make the force and shoot it from the field.
And Johnson hits a 3, and a quick timeout called by Brian Gregory. So Dayton now trails by 7, 66-59.
Well, and I think that's how quick the three-point shot can change things. Now, look, it's going to be difficult for Dayton to get a win here unless they can keep getting stops on the press and create turnover opportunities. But a nice job that time. Little gets the ball inside, and the lack of Chris Wright. You don't want to harp on this for too long, but Chris Wright was a great low-post presence for him and draws some of that attention in and would allow for easier shots to Johnson and Roberts on the outside. Little did a little bit of that right there, and they able to hit Johnson for a wide-open 3.
Johnson now has 24 to lead Dayton. Dayton is now out of timeouts. So we'll see what Brian Gregory draws up. This will be the last time, unless Xavier calls one, that he'll be able to talk to his team. So $1:12 remaining. Marcus Johnson a career high 24 today. And I would imagine from this point forward, this will be a free throw shooting contest.
And if it is, that definitely does favor Xavier. Again, leading the conference in free throw percentage. They also lead in field goal percentage. They lead in three-point field goal percentage defense, rebounding margin, scoring margin. It's clear to understand why Xavier has been so dominating this year inside conference play. As you look out on the floor, who do you potentially want to foul? C.J. Anderson is 64% free throw shooter, Coach, and that's the guy you want to hack. He's standing here right in front of us.
So it's Anderson, Burrell, Lavender, Duncan, and Brown on the floor for Xavier. Robert, Sandoval, Johnson, Benny, and Perry for the Dayton Flyers. Inbound to Burrell, to Lavender.
Well, now you got a foul.
And I think they tried, they just didn't get it called. Roberts, and there's a whistle and a call on Roberts, so Lavender will go to the line and shoot a couple. Now, Lavender's a fantastic free throw shooter.
Right. Lavender is one of the better free throw shooters in the conference at 85.3% coming into tonight's contest. Now, he's a finalist also for the Francis Pomeroy Naismith Award given to the best basketball player under 6 feet tall. And certainly you've seen him tonight, even with the sprained ankle. He missed the last game against Richmond to end the regular season. Coming out here tonight, hitting some timely three-point shots in the first half and distributing the basketball extremely well.
And hits the first. This is his first trip to the line this afternoon.
Coach, I guess my question for Dayton would be, once they broke your press and your initial trap, you have got to foul immediately. You can't even allow 10 seconds to run off the clock in this contest.
Lavender hits them both. Jason Love now in, Duncan out. It's a 9-point game, 68-59. Xavier trying to survive here this afternoon and move on to the semis tomorrow night here in Atlantic City.
And they switch up the defense, go to a little bit of a zone just to get a different look.
And Roberts just threw that one up. Sandoval gets inside, finishes. It's a 7-point game, 49.4 remaining.
So not a bad offensive possession in the end of it.
Burrell up to Lavender, and they're going to have to foul him again, and Xavier would just love to have him hold on to the ball until he's fouled every single time.
All right, you've got to have somebody face guard Drew Lavender and then not let him catch the ball. You can't bring the double off of Drew Lavender, Coach. Twice now they've done that, and the rotation is slow getting there. Time runs off the clock, and then even worse, you've got to foul Lavender and send him to the free throw line.
Well, neither team has shot lights out from the free throw line, but right now when it counts, what a shot. Lavender misses. They are now 18 for 27. Dayton 15 for 26. Lavender hits the second. So it's now 69-61. This thing's not over yet. 44.1 to play. And Dayton with possession.
But you got to get it and go if you're Dayton. You can't allow a lot of time to run off the clock, and that's not good when you just pass it in and you have to go 94 feet right now. You got to go.
Roberts to Perry, to the hoop. Nobody stopped him. That only took about 8 seconds for that to happen. 69-63. Inbounds to Burrell. And a quick foul. Burrell will shoot two. So Dayton kind of just hanging around. 34.5 remaining. Remember, the winner of this game will face the winner of the game coming up about a half an hour after this one concludes, St. Joe's and Richmond. Burrell, an 84% free throw shooter. Burrell hits the first. We will be here for all 4 games of this Atlantic 10 tournament. Now, you and I won't. We'll be here for the first 2, but Burrell hits the second.
And then we'll go to the bullpen and bring in the Duke.
Timeout for Xavier. I can't even imagine what you and I would sound like doing 4 games in one day.
I bet we could pull it off.
Well, we can do it. I've done it before.
I mean, the energy level has to maintain. Like these players, we have to fight through adversity. We have to fight through fatigue. I tell you what, right now, I think Coach Miller, what he's telling his guys is, hey, look, we're going to get fouled right away. You got to be strong with the ball after the inbounds pass. But let's stop giving up easy looks right now to Dayton. Dayton, the last couple of possessions, they will pass the ball right at the floor and get inside and get something at the rim. So they got to be able to cut that off a little bit. And I think that's why he went to the zone 2 possessions ago was he wanted to clog up that middle area, force him to shoot from the outside. Because of the length and the great defensive abilities of the Xavier team, they can close out and make things difficult. Now, you see Drew Lavender, and I think this is going to be a great move as they bring him up to put him on Brian Roberts so that Roberts can't just roll. They can't roll the ball into Roberts and have him pick it up at the half-court line. So a little bit of pressure here, but this pressure more just for them to be able to have to inbound the ball and then dribble it up the length of the floor.
Here comes Roberts.
And they stay in that zone, Coach.
Vinny. Inside to Marcus Johnson. A whistle and a foul on Derek Brown. And that only took 8 seconds. So now an 8-point game, and Johnson will go to the free throw line with a chance to cut it to 6.
And see, that entry pass was too easy. You got to make things a little bit more difficult. On the Flyers, you got to move your feet defensively. You got to deny. You got to get your hand up in that passing lane and not allow him just to dump it right in.
Johnson hits the first. He now has 25, a career high, and he's done an excellent job at keeping the Flyers in this one. 12 for 15 from the free throw line is Johnson here this afternoon. Make that 13 for 16. So it's now 71-65. Xavier with the lead, 27.3 remaining.
They got to get a steal here or a quick foul. You can't let any time run off the clock.
Inbound to Burrell. And Mickey Perry with the foul.
You got to hack right away, though. 2 seconds is an eternity in basketball. We've seen some crazy things happen across the landscape of college basketball this year, and on the last 3 possessions, they've inbounded the ball, and it was almost as if Perry was waiting for a trap to come. You can't wait with 24 seconds left to go in the contest.
Burrell, solid. Now 5 for 5 from the free throw line.
And, Coach, I look at the scoreboard right above us here. All 5 guys currently in the game are in double figures. That is the balanced scoring in which you come to understand is Xavier basketball. Under Coach Miller, by the way, they're 19-0 when 4 more Musketeers are in double digits on the year.
Johnson from the corner for 3, too hard. Anderson rises up and is fouled. And you talk about the guys in double figures, as that will pretty much do it. Duncan with 16, Anderson 13, Lavender 12, Burrell with 13, and Brown with 11. So that is pretty remarkable that they spread it out so evenly. Very unselfish as Sandoval fouls out. So with 13.8 to go, you know, when we talked about the top 6 leading scorers for Xavier, and everybody with the exception of B.J. Raymond, all 5 of those guys are in double figures this afternoon.
Well, they all delivered, and that's what great teams do, Coach, and that's what this team, more than anything else, it's not about the individual. Yes, Stanley Burrell, we're going to talk about his defense and the fact that he's one of the better defensive guards in the country. We're going to talk about Drew Lavender and the fact that he's able to create and set up his teammates. We're going to talk about Derek Brown, his explosiveness and ability to get to the rim. But these guys do it together, and they understand that the collection of 5 guys are stronger than any one individual. We have not seen any selfish play throughout the course of the night from Xavier. We've seen a lot of unselfish play out of them, but no selfish play. And I think that's what impresses so many people around college basketball. I think that's indicative of their head coach.
Anderson hits the first.